Hi, I'm Perry Atkinson, General Manager here at theDove. Hey, check out our other videos and check out our website at thedove.us. Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson. Always a delight to have Dr. Joel Klein with us in the studio, and he's here from Ventana Wellness. And today we're talking about something, by the way, if you want to join the conversation, you can do that, because we're going to be dealing with something that we all, I think, struggle with. Stamina, vitality, energy, get up and go. They say, I want to get up and go, but I got up and go and went, or something like that.
Get up and go, got up and went.
Yeah, get up and go and got up and went. Anyway, if you want to join us, the phone number is 541-776-5368. That's the local number, 541-776-5368. If you're listening and watching anywhere else throughout the Dove network, feel free to call us toll-free, 800-373-5368. Well, Doctor, good to see you. How you doing,
morning.
my friend?
Great.
Good. Boy, this is a big topic. I don't know if we can get all the way through it, but have you ever believed that we'd be seeing people just burned out, drained?
And early in life. I see them even in their 30s.
They're done
now. Well, not they're done, but yeah, they're depleted. They're hitting on two cylinders.
Man. So what is this?
It's the combination of all of it, really. It's our diets, it's our lifestyles, sleep issues. You can go even into things of that are affecting the nervous system, whether it's electronics and some sensitive people. I like to tell people that, Alvin Toffler, who wrote the book Future Shock back around 1970 or so it was, where he said the accelerating pace of the growth of technology would outstrip our biological ability to adapt to it. And so it's putting stress on our nervous system, on our hormone system, and then we're not properly repairing at night because we're not getting good sleep. We're not getting the right nutrients for our body to repair at night. And our hormones actually, with chronic stress, get all perturbed to the point where instead of healing at night, we're actually even more breaking down. Wow.
I don't know of anybody that's not suffering from a lack of energy, stamina,
Right.
I have to work harder to concentrate.
Right.
I'm sure you don't have that problem.
Oh, no, I do. I did damage to myself early on in my previous careers where I burned myself out, and now my brain refuses to do those things. It says, no, you're not doing that again.
Okay. All right. So what's happening to us that we're losing energy? What's happening in our system?
Well, there's a number of different things going on. Number one, and we talked a lot about, is the hormonal issue, and that the chronic stress is depleting hormone levels. Some of the more natural schools will even equate the hormones to what they would call our vital essence, that literally our vital essence is being drained with stress. This will show up, and as we've talked about, in the adrenal, or actually the whole adrenal control mechanism, and then into the sex hormones. The other thing is nutritional issues are even affecting, and toxins as well, affect the way literally that our cells produce energy in the first place. The whole biochemical mechanism that we produce, the cellular form of energy, is being disrupted by a number of these factors. So there's only so many ways that the body will show these kind of imbalances. So we just feel it as a general fatigue, or the brain fog, or the fatigue issues, that it's just not there because all of these functions. So it really takes a holistic view of the whole thing to look at what is each person's major issues. Is some some younger people, it's just the diet.
Yeah.
Fix their diet and they're fine. With older folks, they've been doing this for decades. Right. You have to not only repair those things, you have to make sure that sleep is okay. And if, depending on how deep of a hole they've dug themselves in the first place, you may have to give hormonal support.
Okay. So what's happening here is we're seeing fatigue, we're seeing lack of sleep, quality sleep.
Right.
We're seeing foggy brains, which I think a lot of us, we're seeing diabetes go through the roof, weight gain go through the roof. I'm surprised how many people are just crashing and burning with emotional breakdown and cancer. Is all this related?
I think ultimately these are all lifestyle issues. Cancer, from what we can tell, and actually people say, well, we didn't have good records. Actually, in some places we do have good records. Before 1900, cancer was uncommon, especially like in Britain, where they kept very good records, and the doctors back in the late 1800s were doing autopsies 2 and 3 times a week. This was the heyday of anatomical pathology, and maybe 10% of deaths were related to cancer at the most, and maybe those were like the genetic predisposition. The rest of it probably had to do with, number one, diet, and also what they're being exposed to in the environment. So I think it's all of these things that are really combining up to this perfect storm.
Let me just say to our viewers and listeners, you're welcome to join us. If you got any questions for Dr. Klein, 541-776-5368 or toll-free 800-373-5368. I don't want to be political, and this isn't a political question, but it may be perceived as one. Is our food supply contaminated?
I don't want to say contaminated, but it is certainly
Altered?
not. Yeah, it's not in its, well, it depends on, number one, the form, but even the food supply. You know, I know, and this is obviously coming up here. I don't know that we have evidence that GMOs are poisonous so much as once we start mucking with God's work, then we don't make as good of a product. Yeah. And there's a trade-off. You know, people say, well, we wouldn't have these things if it wasn't for some of the modification, although a lot of the modification is being done for economic reasons, so that, but it's not as good as the real thing. And we will, and probably in ways that we will only discover. The big danger is, you know, are we going to lose the natural stuff altogether with that? But I suspect that it's not so much that it's toxic, although I think there's some suggestion that it's certainly more likely to form allergy issues, and maybe some of the explosion, which has been scientifically documented, to the gluten sensitivity issue may be because we're using these monocultures of wheat that may be even more prone to producing these sensitivities.
Wow. Because this gluten thing is really epidemic too, isn't it?
And that's been shown. You know, they used to, back, if you asked a doctor 20 years ago, he would say that celiac disease occurred in 1 in 3 to 5,000 people. And even researchers at my medical school published an article in Scientific American where they took 13,000 healthy people and tested them blood tests for celiac disease, and they found it in 1 in 133. So it's 30 to 50 times more common, and that's just the people with blood positive celiac disease. There's a whole, probably even greater population of people who are now, what the best thing they can do is call gluten intolerant, because they clearly have a problem with it, even though because they get better when they stop it, but their blood test is negative.
All right. Well, let's get into this a little bit. Let's fast forward and come back. If we were to be the ideal person, what should we have for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? In order, you know, what I'm saying is, let's go to the ideal, and we'll come back and realize it takes time to get there. But
well, the interesting thing is it differs from person to person. There are people, and my experience is the big, stocky Northern European built, whether I would say from Northern Europe, like Germany, Poland, England, Scotland. Just my experience of those folks is that they're the ones that do better on the lower carbohydrate diet. So that breakfast, and I don't think they have to be on no carbs, but they actually do better with protein for breakfast. Now, I wouldn't say the old steak and eggs is actually not a bad idea. Now they're finally coming around saying, well, gee, maybe saturated fat isn't so bad after all, after we've been fed this line about it for 60, some years. But the bottom line is maybe not be so much. People should have balanced meals of protein, carbohydrate, and fat, and whole food. I think the difference is, as Michael Pollan says in his book In Defense of Food, he said, I can summarize it all in 3 sentences. Eat food, like food, not so much, mostly plants. For a lot of people. Although some people's metabolisms, especially if they're in that pre-diabetic type of metabolism, you got the large belly. The blood tests show borderline blood sugar. The triglycerides in the blood are high. Maybe blood pressure is borderline. Those folks do better with less carbohydrates in the morning, and that actually sets them up better for the rest of the day. But part of the energy issue we're talking about is people do need some carbohydrates to burn for energy. The problem is they're mostly in highly digestible and assimilatable forms that turn instantly into glucose rather than being more slowly released, and that's where a lot of the problem lies in terms of metabolism.
We have a tendency, because we're burning a lot of energy, to gorge at lunch and at dinner. Now, are you one of these that are in favor of eating small things throughout the day?
It depends. Some people, people who especially have hormone issues, I find that people with the more slender, high energy builds do much better on that as to do, with adrenal and absorption function. Some people do better there. Some people who, as I remember, someone I worked with in Colorado Springs who was from North Carolina, and he said, my grandmother said you should eat dinner like a king, lunch like a prince. I mean, breakfast like a king, dinner like a prince, lunch like a prince, and dinner like a pauper. Some people do better with that one. Some people do better with it spread during the day. That's the thing. There's no one right way for everybody, and it's incumbent on people to actually figure out for themselves to some degree what works. But the important thing is to start with real food.
Because in America, if you go to an average restaurant in America, you get a lot of food.
You get a huge amount of food.
You get, right. Compared to other countries. I've been to other countries, you get a nice meal. In America, you get enough for two.
Right. It depends. I remember in Italy, you got these people are eating these huge amounts at 10 o'clock at night, which was really amazing, depending on how much you did. But yes, we eat too much. And especially when I tell people, from what my understanding is that the way they train sumo wrestlers in Japan is that they don't eat all day and then they eat nonstop from 6 to 10 at night. Oh, okay. That's how you get to look like a sumo wrestler.
Yeah, there you
So
go.
so people who skip breakfast and have coffee, and then maybe eat a little tiny bit of lunch and then have the big dinner. Yeah, you're probably predisposing yourself for that insulin-resistant picture because your body sets your metabolism in the morning. Your insulin response is set in the morning, and if the body thinks you're in starvation, because you're not eating, it will set you into a diabetic metabolism where you're saving everything. You're conserving all the calories. This is why we have people from hunter-gatherer societies like the Pima Indians in the Southwest or African Americans. You give them 3 meals a day of processed carbohydrates, and the majority of them are diabetic because they hold on to all of it.
All right, we're talking about stamina, energy, and vitality. How are you doing in those departments? You need some answers? Dr. Joel Klein's here for another segment. Give us a call, 541-776-5368, or toll free, 800-373-5368. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back, and Dr. Joel Klein's with us today. He's with Ventana Wellness, ventanawellness.com. You may want to check it out. It's a great resource, a great clinic, and if you're looking for a good doctor, here's one right here, Dr. Joel Klein. And we're talking about stamina and vitality and energy, and it seems like we're all kind of running on empty today. I walked over the overpass on the freeway the other day, and I'm looking down, the cars are whizzing by, and the thought occurred to me, how many of those guys are on E? and they're just running on borrowed time.
Well, depends where you work, because I think if they were north of Medford, they probably they gassed up.
Yeah, but how many of us run that? And we're doing our bodies that way. We're running on E, thinking that we can just throw all this stuff at it at night or something. But the worst thing you can do is eat a big meal and go to bed. Yeah,
if you do it right after, sure, that's going to put calories on, and that's going to affect the digestion as well as the hormonal.
The breakfast thing is hard for us. We all get up. I do. Hey, I get up at 4. Right? I haven't eaten breakfast unless on the weekends, weekdays for years. No, that's a no-no.
I know. Well,
I try to eat an energy bar, but should I do a shake? What should I do?
It would be better. Obviously, something would be balanced, but you do want some protein, you want some carbohydrate, and you want some fat in there. So depending, so people want to do a protein shake, stick a little coconut oil in there. If to me, if you can't do the vegetables, see, I do my green sludge, pretty much all day long.
Well,
you
and Nisha come in here with a pond scum of a drink.
I know it looks horrible, but I tell you, I've been doing it for 5 years, and why should I stop? It works for me, not only otherwise, but it works with my elimination issues, all these different kind of things. Yeah. But if people want to get, they have these like green drink powders. These are concentrated vegetable matter that you can get in the health food stores and all of that. That's at least something that you're getting vegetable nutrition. We really need that stuff. So if that's all you can do, to do an energy bar, they're usually higher in carb, in sugar, and you need some, but most of the ones that are out there, I certainly wouldn't consider a meal replacement.
Okay, so protein drink's better.
Yeah, but mixed. You want protein, carb, and fat, yeah.
All right. How important is water?
I think very important. You know, I've never been one, maybe because I'm kind of, you know, I don't remember to drink all day long. Of course, I'm getting a lot in the, like I say, in the green sludge, but we certainly want to be hydrated. We can't eliminate toxins as well. Otherwise, whether, you know, they've gone back and forth over the years. Do we really need to do 8 glasses a day and this and that? You know, I think probably, but, you know, some people can get by otherwise. I think it's important, but I think there are other things that are as important.
You know, Doctor, lately vitamins have gotten a bad rap in the news.
Right.
And some really bad articles come out. But I got to tell you, I'm a vitamin taker, and I can tell you real quick, when I don't take them, I feel a difference.
You know, they design these studies almost to get a negative outcome. They use poor quality vitamins.
Push pulls, what I call it.
And they're looking at these overly broad, as if, yeah, we're going to test and see if they are the answer to everything. Of course they're not. Anybody who thinks, I'm sorry, I had one lady come to me many, many years ago who was taking all these vitamins to counteract the effects of her smoking. And, you know, so I said, I don't think that's going to work. But a lot of our food is depleted. Stress depletes B, zinc, and magnesium, so a lot of people need supplemental sources, and if they feel different, they are not a panacea. They are not the answer to everything. They don't substitute for a decent diet, because there are all these other nutrients that we get from real food other than vitamins. But I think for a lot of people, it's extra insurance, but they're not going to be the answer, the panacea. And then a lot of times what they use in these studies are like the cheapest, worst forms that real nutritionists would say, of course you're not going to see anything with that. It's just junk. It's not in a form that even our body can use. So I won't say brand names, but the cheaper ones that you can get like in the grocery store and in the supermarket typically are not that good quality.
Okay. All right. Now, I think part of this is sugar, because you go through these sugar highs throughout the day, and you get the 1:30, 2 o'clock crash, right?
Right. Well, that's the whole thing. If you're chasing it all day long, you have too much sugar, which causes, number one, a boost, an excess sugar load in the body, and then you oversecrete insulin, and then you go hypoglycemic an hour or so later, and then you're crashed out again, and you go up, down, up, down. Now, people who do have that, number one, yeah, the sugar is not the problem. Sugar is like kindling on the fire. It will burn quickly. You got to put the logs on the fire. You need the protein and fat. And those, again, will burn more slowly, but you need some of the carb. Again, you can't build a fire without, you know, tinder, kindling, and fuel. We need all three again. We need the fast burning for some, but you need a much more sustainable, the slow burning, which tends to be quality protein and fat.
Are we addicted to sugar?
Most. Yeah, well, I mean, certainly as a society.
Hey, I admit it, okay, but you helped me with this candida problem I have, and I have to tell you, I'm just at the end of that little 30-day thing.
Right.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, it's amazing, you know, and sometimes I tell people it's almost as if, you know, these bugs in their gut, if they're overgrowing, act like the alien going, feed me, feed me. It's like a parasite. I don't think it's quite like that. Some of it is when you have these problems in your gut, you're not able to burn the protein and fat as well. So your body's going, give me something, give me something. Your brain needs food and that sugar craving. And I'll treat people, we'll get that out of the diet, we'll clean up the gut a little bit, and their sugar cravings are dramatically lessened when we do that.
Well, I did have a little crave over the weekend.
Well, you know, it happens.
I had a strawberry milkshake, Doc.
But, you know.
But I just love them.
What am I going to, you know.
It's my favorite thing is the strawberry milkshake.
Things most of the way, and you can get away with these indulgences.
I downed it with a lot of water, but man, it was sure good.
That's not a problem. Look, I know, you know, I do too, but as long as most of what you're doing is not that, sure, you can get away with it. Your body can handle it, and it's fine.
Are we trying to push young age too long? In other words, are we trying to stay energy high and stamina high and sexual energy high too long in life? I mean, we're in the natural cycle. Is this supposed to kind of fade out?
It's a big question, and I don't know if it's answerable. The problem, the question that's being posed is what we call normal aging actually accelerated aging?
Okay.
So I don't, it's a very difficult question for each person. Is this normal for me? Is this what's supposed to happen? I think the bottom line is we don't know for each person. And the whole point is here, let's create the best opportunity for your body to function at the highest level it can. I think in some instances people are pushing, if you think you're going to use hormones to live to 120 and just push and just treat just because they're there rather than problems, I don't feel that that's a good solution, but there's not one right answer for that. But in some cases, yes. But in some cases, most of what I do is, quote, anti-aging is just slowing down accelerated aging from diet and stress.
Okay. Bloating, big problem.
Right.
You're full, but you're not full. What is that?
Well, part of it is if people's the gastrointestinal tract, if you're not making enough stomach acid, which is actually much more of a problem than too much, then the food just sits there and doesn't even get digested, so you're not breaking it down. So you will feel full because the food's just sitting in your gut, and yet you're not burning it for energy. Some of it is literally carbon dioxide and gas that's being produced by unfriendly bugs in the gut, and you feed them sugar and they ferment it into carbon dioxide and alcohol. So, in fact, this is what fungal, like yeast species do. So we can make ourselves drunk from the sugar because the yeast ferments it into alcohol, and you get carbon dioxide formation causing bloating. Also, with the low acid situation, if the meat, especially protein, will not get broken down all the way, and it literally putrefies in the gut, and that will make methane and hydrogen sulfide and these other chemicals that'll cause bloating.
Let me see if I can get one call in. Hi, Debbie.
Hi.
What's going on with your coffee diet?
Well, I wanted to know what Dr. Klein's opinion is of Garcinia cambogia and the new coffee diet craze.
I haven't read about it. Garcinia cambogia has been used for weight loss for a long time. If you're doing Garcinia cambogia and coffee, then all you're doing is appetite suppressants. And yeah, people will lose weight, maybe, but also at the expense of their hormone system, because not eating and just taking stimulants will be a big stress on the adrenal system. So I'm not in favor of the little fad thing and everything that comes around. See how long it lasts. A year from now, nobody will be talking about it.
Okay. One of the ones I looked at said you eat everything normal, but you drink a cup of coffee or tea a day and you lose weight.
Don't know how that, because it acts as an appetite suppressant, so you don't eat as much. So instead of taking phentermine or an appetite suppressant, you're using the caffeine as an appetite suppressant. Don't know that that's really the best way to go about things.
There you go.
Okay, thank you,
Thanks,
doctor.
David. Thank you. Interesting. I still think, I'm not the doctor you are, but from what I've read, there's a couple of plans out there. South Beach seems to have their act together.
That is a very good plan for, again, a lot of people, especially the ones who are in this pre-diabetic metabolism, because we're cutting back on the carbohydrates in the beginning, and that's a big issue for a lot of people. And then you're progressing, so you ease it up over time. So from what I've seen from that, that is not a bad program.
And the Mediterranean one?
Well, the whole problem is, Mediterranean is not been really well defined what exactly is a Mediterranean diet, but certainly the higher plant oils. This is the thing. If we're pre-diabetic and diabetic, the most medicinal food we could possibly eat is olive oil. Dr. Mark Houston, who's a specialist in Tennessee, also has a master's in nutrition, but he's a hypertension specialist, will put pre-diabetic and diabetic patients on 4 tablespoons of olive oil a day, somehow worked into their diet, because the biochemistry of the fat in olive oil, which is called oleic acid and omega-9, has significant effects on the way we react to glucose and sugar. So in that case, you're less refined carbohydrates, more healthy oils. This is the way we need to go.
One quick question before we end: what happens if you skip a meal? What you should do if you skip a meal?
Well, do the best you can, but try to plan your life out so that you don't. I mean, I guess I'm not sure.
Well, a lot of people get busy and miss lunch, and that could really drive all their levels crazy by the middle of the afternoon.
Well, so by that time, you do a snack, you do what you can do, but then you kind of look at if this is constantly happening to you, how am I setting my life up that this constantly happens to me and what I can do about it?
Strawberry milkshake?
Strawberry milkshake?
No, I'm just
Probably
kidding.
not. But the protein shake or something without the strawberry and all the sugar in it, maybe not so bad.
Just kidding. All right, Dr. Joel Klein with us, and Ventana Wellness, ventanawellness.com, great website, resource, and terrific clinic with a lot of specialists, and Joel being kind of the head doc over there. So if you need a good doctor, check him out. Thank you, Joel.
Great, thanks, Perry.
All right, we'll be right back.